All right, Paul came up with the possibility if the ACC and Big 12 were to ever decide to hug each other and try to play another game that could lead to something. So he came up with the ones he thought would make the most sense. This was hard to do because a lot of them don't. But Paul, I don't know if we're going to be able to explain all 16 games, but let's go through it.
I can do it. Don't worry.
All right.
Arizona versus Cal. Pretty simple. Let's get some Pac fans watching ACC and Big 12. Some people who lament the loss of the old Pac-12 and want to see an old Pac-12 battle. We get that one right off the top there. Second matchup, Arizona State versus FSU.
I know why this one.
Why?
Because they have beautiful people on campus.
They're the same. They're the same school. They're literally the same school in just different places.
All right, they have beautiful people on campus.
I mean, it's more than that, but it's just the same.
I love Arizona State.
Look, I like this Baylor versus Duke. Both schools. This is kind of there's a basketball matchup, but also teams that are now pushing their chips to the middle of the table on football a little bit more. So I like that one.
They played a few years ago.
Yeah, that's boring.
And I do think that this is one of those that unfortunately for both sides are probably going boring, but that's the way that it is. And that's probably they're two private schools. I don't know how close they are size-wise, but I'd imagine they're much closer to each other than they are to the bigger
they are.
Institutions that are non-private. So it does make sense. It makes sense. It's just not a game where I think Duke fans are like, hell yeah, let's play Baylor, or Baylor fans are like, hell yeah, let's play Duke, unless it was basketball. And then if it was basketball, they'd be like, hell yeah, this is awesome.
I don't know
but
about that
football,
after
it's whatever.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, and there are others. I had to balance it out, and I didn't want to be biased and be like, hey, yeah, let's give Baylor Clemson, right off the bat.
No, I mean, I agree with it. I'm just saying that it's just there's going to be others on here that I don't think either side's going to be very excited about.
No, it's how it's going to be. But you had to pepper it up a little, pepper things through. Fourth game, BYU versus Stanford, big money versus big money. Throwing it around. The endowment versus our LDS friends in Utah. I thought that one, the problem was I had to leave Virginia off of this list. And at least for this year, there's always going to be an ACC team if they signed a 4-year, contract on this that would get dropped because there's one more ACC team than there is Big 12 teams. So then I said, you know what, old Big East matchup, let's get Cincy and Louisville together.
Okay.
I think the fans of both those schools would be happy for that one. Look, Fran Brown and Dion wanted to play each other in the spring. Let's have them play each other in real life.
Where's the Cincinnati coach prior to him being in Cincinnati? Satterfield.
In Louisville.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think the fans would like that. Let's get Dion and Fran Brown together.
Yeah, they're buddies.
Yeah.
They want to play each other in spring scrimmages, get them on the field.
Yeah. Houston and Virginia Tech wound up being one of those ones I kind of had to pair randomly. Although, I kind of like it for school size and all, but other than that, it was just kind of one of those random ones.
I think that's Kyron Drone's homecoming.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Kyron
right.
Drone's homecoming. Yeah.
If they did it this year, yeah.
I mean, or you could do Vatek Baylor and have him play his old team. But yeah, I mean, Kyron Drone's being a Texas guy, being from, is he down from the Houston area?
Yeah, Shadow Creek.
Shadow Creek, yeah, Shadow Creek. So
Jarrett.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those in football, at least, where Houston would be excited. I don't know how excited Virginia Tech would be. With all due respect, I'm just saying from their point of view, they don't look at Houston the same way we do.
Yeah. Okay. Iowa State versus Pitt. This one also became kind of random, but these are two coaches I think that are pretty good, and Pat Narduzzi, and
they have a yellow color in their uniform,
and Matt Campbell. I know the Iowa State fans would be thrilled, especially if it was at Pitt. They would go.
I think this is the first miss.
Miss, you do?
West Virginia Pitt, baby.
No. They're gonna they play that game anyway.
Okay,
they play that game anyway. I was waiting.
They're gonna play that and then play another ACC game. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, yes, I know. I had to do this. I'm. Okay, if you look down the list, I put TCU and SMU together because we have to do that because TCU won't play that game anymore. So I made that happen. Although, yes, I would. You could switch it, up and do West Virginia Pitt, but I have a different thing for the good people of West Virginia.
Didn't Iowa State just beat Miami in the bowl game?
Yeah,
last December, right?
They did.
Yeah.
Beat
so
up Cam
they just
Ward.
played each other. But yeah,
they
that's
beat half a team because Cam played a half.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things when you do something like this, you almost got to put in parameters of like, do they play or do they not play already? Because like, yeah, you do have the iron skillet on here, but I get it. They're not technically playing anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas, but yeah, if you're doing like the true blue though, like West Virginia Pitt's got to be the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's why I did that. This is another one that was really hard to match, but Kansas and Wake Forest, it just kind of.
Danny Manning against Tim Duncan.
Yeah. I mean, it just was like, it just is. I know, like I've gone down a couple of the years and given these teams better, like opponents to be happy for. I mean, they can't all be winners. I really like the K-State versus Georgia Tech one. That's two pretty cool coaches going against each other in Chris Kleiman and Brent Key. So that's why I picked that. Oklahoma State versus Clemson. I call it the eye roll bowl. Because every time their coaches talk, I'm just like, oh God. But still, it's two guys, and who knows them. But I thought that would be, you're talking about like bigger, names inside the conferences. I think that would be kind of interesting one. Making the iron skillet play, because that's the only way I think it's going to happen. Because again, TCU apparently doesn't want to do it now. Tech, I gave North Carolina to. I thought that would be a cool one.
Do you hear what Mac Brown said about North Carolina now?
No.
With Belichick?
Lowered the academic standards.
He said that one, they are of course piloting money into the NIL, et cetera, but they also, that he says, lowered the academic standards so they could recruit players that when he was at North Carolina, they're not able to recruit.
Yeah.
Well, he sounded salty when all that came to pass, and then to see him get replaced. I mean, although there was plenty of talk about him in the hot seat and all that for a little while, I think, to see the new guy, the new girl, what I guess in that case both. Good old Jordan there, huh? That's got to be a bit annoying. But then to see people go further in with NIL, and then to possibly, if that's true, lower the academic standards to help guys get into school, then I'd be pissed off too.
You mean failed Hard Knocks producer Jordan Hudson?
Yeah, that's an off the radar topic tomorrow, I think. Right, Greg?
I, for one, don't believe it, because North Carolina would never do anything shady academically.
Wow. Yeah. They played that thing well, didn't they?
Can you imagine being the
NFL?
NFL?
By God, kill SFA. Kill them.
Let me ask you, can you imagine being the NFL and then getting a request from North Carolina that, hey, if you're going to do Hard Knocks, Bill Belichick's girlfriend has to be a producer, get a producer credit. They'd be like, no, she doesn't.
No.
But, okay, UCF and BC, this one.
A battle of letters.
Just kind of happened.
Abbreviations.
It just kind of happened. I debated Virginia in here or Boston College. I prefer Boston College, I guess. I don't know. So I put Boston College in there for the Knights. They have some better ones on down the line that I made, year two. I'm going to throw this out a couple times, maybe over the summer. Utah and NC State, another one that just kind of happened. But still not bad if Dave Doran gets that team turned around. And then the one that kind of spurred this on to me was West Virginia versus Miami, because that's an old Big East rivalry. And I would just love to see that one played again. I mean, it was they hated each other's guts back in the day. I'm sure the old guard fans still probably do hate each other's guts, but it's been a very long time since they've played anything with stakes.
All right, so a couple of notes. This is from Bracket Cat, who's pretty involved as always in the chat room. Don't BYU and Stanford actually play this year?
Oh, do they? I didn't even look.
I don't just throw it out there. Also, somebody said construction work. I'm not sure what he meant by why Virginia Tech. If you had KU should play Syracuse, I know the Dion connection because of the 2009 national championship game in basketball.
Well, that one is I have that on year 3.
You've done.
I've done on the year 3 because I was trying to do rotations.
You need more to do in life. Right? I was
trying to do
make
rotations.
Content for his job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
isn't that what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah. So no, I just I thought it was a good thought exercise of doing it. And if the other two conferences are going to do it, I would think the Big 12 and ACC should. Now, they can probably do a better job than I can because they've got a schedule guru in there. But I'm giving them a rough template
I think
to go
at
about
least
it.
you're trying, man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
like
Craig.
Colorado Syracuse actually because of the Fran Dion thing, and yeah, that would be going with just the latest headline versus maybe a little bit more of the history aspect. But I actually am okay with that game. I like that game. The West Virginia game that I mentioned earlier that should be against Pitt. I mean, if it's not going to be Pitt, then Miami is a great choice. If I were to do it, I think I would have done it differently. I think I would have done WVU Pitt, and then I would have had UCF Miami. So you have the Florida battle there for the Knights potentially, just because I think of these in like terms of regional, like what would be more of like, at least there's some people living next to each other that maybe like add some spice to it.
Well, that was the other thing I thought about doing. UCF has just recently played Miami as well.
Now I'm sure Miami would much rather play West Virginia and relive some Big East memories than, lowly UCF in their eyes, but I think that would be a fun battle. They've only played twice, UCF and Miami, and they haven't played in over 10 years. It's been a really long time.
Oh, it's Florida they played. Never mind. Yeah, that's why
they played Florida.
Yeah. So, that one, and look, it's on the horizon.
So is there a reason why UCF and Miami? I know that if you're Miami, you play Florida a lot, you play FSU, obviously. Is that about the time that UCF started to be pretty good, and all of a sudden that Miami series stopped?
Why would you? Well, they only played them twice.
Played them twice ever.
So before it was, what good is it going to do for us to play them?
Isn't that what? Let's be honest. Is that what TCU thinks about SMU?
Well, now it's too much of a risk. That's what it is. Like if 10 years ago they played them, and then they're like, they're getting good now. Let's just put them on the. On the back burner, for a little bit.
Yeah, so. I think the Battle of Florida, like I said, Miami would probably much rather play West Virginia, but there'd be enough cool crossover there. Now, if I were to do that, and I mean, your list is cool. I'm just looking at like maybe what I would tweak. So that would have freed up. Miami would play UCF. So who would that have freed up? That would have freed up Iowa State and
Boston College.
So Iowa State and BC would maybe potentially be the fallout from switching a couple things around, which. I don't know. I think some BC fans would be pleasantly surprised at like the tailgating atmosphere and like Ames and like what a departure of going from like the Northeast to the Midwest. And then, vice versa. I'm sure Iowa State fans would love to go up to Boston. So yeah, that would be a potential one as well. But
all right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. This is straight up. And John Kurtz is next. Look at those games. All right. If you took the Big 12 and you added it to the ACC and came up with 6 bangers, could you? Bangers
of this one? Yeah, I think so.
Somebody in the chat said, look at those games. You got 16 against 17. Come up with literal bangers. And this is where the ACC and the Big 12 have work to do.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Because of the fact that, yes, the ACC has more what you consider either a blue blood or right on the edge of they should be.
Here's the problem, too, is that blue bloods get the benefit of the doubt every year, no matter how down they've been.
Absolutely.
Whereas Oklahoma State has one down year, and all of a sudden it's like, Oklahoma State's crap. And it's like, well, if you'd have done that game 2 years ago, Oklahoma State and Clemson, that'd be a hell of a football game.
And Oklahoma State probably wins.
But and then after last year, though, you're like, we got to play Oklahoma. Dude, Oklahoma State's legit, but I think there's that bias there, whereas in some other leagues, you're just who you are and who you've been for 100 years, no matter what you've actually done. And that's the big difference.
That's true.
Yeah, so,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's not, again, the point of this is like, you say, where are the bangers on the list? You have to create it. You have to create it.
Well, that's why I think the only way to do that is to have stakes in it. And so how can you make stakes out of nothing? That's why I think regionality is important.
Yeah.
Because you at least have some people that live close by or know people that went to that school, so that there's at least a natural flame to kind of maybe pour some gasoline on. But otherwise, you got two complete. I mean, in the case of the Big 12, they're all over the country. In the ACC, I mean, it's basically the Atlantic coast, right, for the most part. So, there's not a lot of just naturally built-in rivalry. I mean, it'd be a hell of a basketball slate that you could put together. That's where the bangers would be in basketball. But I don't know. I think you could flip some games around here. But the Big 12 doesn't have somebody that's at the level of like about 3 of these ACC teams who are those teams that get the benefit no matter how bad they might have been for like 5 years. It's still a brand name.
Or 20 years.
Or 20 years,
I mean, again, Miami, first time in 23 years they've done anything last year of note.